There's an event to honor our veterans, those that were injured during battle. Remember last year the Duke of Sussex visited Nigeria with his wife. Through the Invictus, they have a foundation that they try to raise the morale of troops all over the world that have suffered one form of deformity or the other in the course of defending their individual countries. So we're supposed to be there. And actually, half of my team have already gone, but unfortunately, the Canadian embassy, for knowledge best known to them, denied us visa.
Thank you for the courage to say that Canada denied you. They can go to hell.
Hello and what's up, guys? In this video we are uncovering the real reason why Canada denied visas to Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa and other top military officers. There is a lot of talk about this, but what is the truth? Was it political? Was there a hidden agenda? Stay tuned because we are breaking it all down. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, isn't happy about this at all. He publicly slammed Canada for the decision, calling it disrespectful and even saying they can go to hell. But why such a strong reaction? Here's what we know. General Musa and his team were invited to a war veterans event in Canada, an official location to honor those wounded in battle. Some officers got visas, but shockingly, others, including the CDS himself, were denied. Musa expressed his disappointment, saying, "Half of our team has gone, the rest were denied. It's very disappointing." Now, Ribadu sees this as a wake-up call for Nigeria. He says it is time for the country to stand strong and stop being treated unfairly on the global stage. Former Aviation Minister Femi Fani-Kayode also reacted, saying Nigeria must not tolerate this kind of disrespect. He even suggested Canada's future as a sovereign nation is uncertain if Donald Trump have his way. So what's really behind this visa denial? Was it a security decision, a diplomatic message, or something even bigger? Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I am talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look, guys, and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
Since yesterday, the internet, the social media, and the news wave in Nigeria is burning because Canada denied Nigeria Chief of Army Staff visa, and that became a big news.
There's an event to honor our veterans, those that were injured during battle. Remember last year the Duke of Sussex visited Nigeria with his wife. Through the Invictus, they have a foundation that they try to raise the morale of troops all over the world that have suffered one form of deformity or the other in the course of defending their individual countries. So we're supposed to be there. And actually, half of my team have already gone, but unfortunately, the Canadian embassy, for knowledge best known to them, denied us visa. So I wasn't sure, and so I wanted to be silent about it. But when we couldn't get the visa, I said, this is blessing in disguise. So I'm really very happy to be here.
Since after he came to admit this visa denial, many Nigerians have been dragging this government up and down, and they have valid reasons for doing that, especially when Ribadu came with his own statement and reaction.
Thank you for the courage to say that Canada denied you. They can go to hell. Even though it's painful, it's disrespectful, but we are people, we are strong, and I agree with you. We have to fix our country. We have to do it well. Yes, this disrespect is too much. So, yet is another reason why we work hard to make Nigeria work and be respected.
Good. Now Nigerians are telling this government of impunity, especially in reacting to Ribadu, that since he decided to work with the same person he dragged and investigated for corruption at international level scale, what would they expect? That it is time for Nigeria to have its own retrospect, especially among the leaders. And that is the position of many Nigerians. And some of them have also dragged the Nigerian military for being complicit, as they said it, to the insecurity happening in Nigeria.
For everyone, you need to come on board. Boko Haram should lay their arms unconditionally and be accepted in the community. Opportunities are out there for them. They can be rehabilitated. An ex-Boko Haram stands having laid his arms and comes back, turns his way away from his negativity. He stands to be a president of this country. He stands to aspire to any position in this country. Why is he wasting his time when he cannot even deliver?
And expect any country to take Nigeria seriously after hearing that bandits, terrorists, and killers can aspire to be president of this country and even occupy sensitive positions in government, and we expect Canada to give you visa.
And also human rights violation, especially what we are seeing in the southeast. Having said that, let us flip the page on the other side to also dig in deep with what we've been saying all this while. And that is the position of the Chief of Defense Staff with respect to international conspiracy to sponsor and continue destabilizing Nigeria with terrorism. Listen to this.
I just can't understand why anybody will wake up and say that we're killing people when we're actually not doing the same. And guess what? Where the Giwa barracks you were talking about, we have all the humanitarian agencies working there. You have the UN working, local and international organizations are working. Are we saying they are complicit? There is nothing we're doing in the back. So if they don't say it, which means Amnesty International is equal, and Amnesty is equally there. So which means they're equally accusing all these other organizations of being complicit.
So just to be clear, you would be prepared to go to the ICJ in The Hague and answer these accusations?
We're not scared of anything because we don't have anything of such.
We've seen Boko Haram regroup and regroup and regroup. What is your answer to that? That you have in some way fed the insurgents?
The problem is that I think we've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy, you don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilize?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yes.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things. I had initially when the NGOs came in, when we started, they didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they'll tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that. So we said, no, it can't continue like that. And that's why we insisted with the state government that, look, the state government must know what's going on. So if any NGO comes, it must be registered. We must monitor what's going on. We've had situations where NGOs will come in with unidentified individuals entering communities. You don't even know what they're doing. They don't have NGO ID cards. They are not part of the government. Who is taking them to? What are they going there for? And so by the time we'll start monitoring what they were doing, we noticed things started getting better. So which means something is going on somewhere, because they come from all over the world and you don't know who is who. So that's why for every country, please regulate what the NGOs are doing, monitor what they're doing. Most times you hear them telling you that they spent $10 million and then you wonder where. Most times the money is spent on themselves, on their luxuries, the hotels they stay, the vehicles they are using and all those things. The locals don't benefit much from them. And yet this thing keeps on. I've told you, somebody will come and pay for a house for 10 years ahead. So what is he trying to tell you? This thing will never end until after 10 years, or maybe he will renew it. And again, I always remember that if there is peace and the threat level is low, one, they are going to retrench them. Two, their hazard allowance will reduce. How many of them will want that? We're not saying all of them are bad. No, some are really doing very well. Some are extremely doing very well. But again, please don't just assume they're just monitor what's going on, monitor what's being spent. I think it's important.
After he said these things, honestly speaking, one can accept that truly there is international conspiracy. If not, why will you deny him visa? Is it because of his position about international community conspiring to destabilize Nigeria? And that has been the standard procedure in Africa, where they hide under NGOs, aid and assistance to sponsor terrorism. We've seen foreigners supply unknown things to terrorists and bandits in the north with helicopters. We've seen that happen. We've said it time and over that there is no place in Nigeria and Africa where there is high level of insurgents that you will not find serious, strong deposit of solid minerals. They have been cutting away. They hide under these chaos to cut away some of these minerals in collaboration, because they can't do that alone, with corrupt government officials, and some of them in the military. So when you look at these things, you will understand where this man is coming from. And some will say, truly, that's why he was denied visa. Could that one also be true? We leave it for you to have your say. What do you think could be the cause of the denial of this visa? Because it seems like visa to Obodo Oyibo, Western world, Canada, UK, America, and the rest of them is visa to heaven. Africans. Now these same people will bring this narrative of heaven give us. So me, I believe in heaven. But if Oyibo could not allow Africans to come to their own heaven, we need to make our own heaven ourselves. We need to make our homeland the El Dorado, the heaven, the paradise we seek. The only problem we have is bad governance. Because Africa had everything. God mesmerized Africa with both solid minerals and human resources to be at the front line in international affairs. But today, Africa is only doing babiala, begging for aid, still borrowing from the Western world. We live as slaves in the modern era. And those who are selling Africa to the Western world are the people in power. That's why this message of good governance must continue. That's why we must continue to fight until we get it right with leadership in Africa. Because if that is not the case, tell me how a whole chief of defense staff is being denied the visa. There must be kepu inside.
Now let's talk about why CDS Christopher Musa, the chief of defense staff, was denied visa by the Canadian government. Now it's possible that this has to do with the interview that he granted with Al Jazeera. Now recently he granted an interview with Al Jazeera where he had to spill everything, although he tried to hold back on a whole lot of things that he wanted to say. But to an extent, perhaps he has said something that not everybody really wants him to say.
We've talked about a period of 15 long years here. We've talked about playing an almighty game of catch-up. But in the meantime, we've seen Boko Haram regroup, and regroup, and regroup. What is your answer to that? That you have in some way fed the insurgents?
The problem is that I think we've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy. You don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilized?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
And again, let's look at things this way. Perhaps they denied him the visa because of the accusation of human rights infringements in the fight against insurgency in the north.
The Giwa barracks in the northeastern city of Maiduguri that has been allegedly holding children as young as 5 in hot, cramped conditions, not to mention allegations of beating, the sexual abuse of women and girls, where innocent civilians were meant to be in your care, treated this way. I mean, that's the big question Amnesty International raises. And they're prepared, sorry to interrupt, they're prepared to take you to the International Court of Justice to defend their views. Would you testify there?
We're ready to go. We're not scared of anybody. And I can tell you, they have their own intent on why they are doing that. I think they just want to demoralize my troops, but seems some people are just hell-bent on making sure that we don't succeed. We're just good guys just trying to make sure that our country is secured, and then some individuals seem to not to be happy about it and trying everything possible to throw us under the bus for whatever reasons. Like I told you, what I realized over time, I've been in service for almost 33 years. Anytime we seem to be succeeding, somebody throws something at us. And the question is, why? Is it because we're succeeding, or you don't want the country to move forward? What is the aim? What's the intent? That's the question we're asking.
Now, from watching that interview with Al Jazeera, now these are the points that I coined out. The General, Christopher Musa, may have supported the motion that foreign powers are making deliberate attempts to ensure that the Nigerian military doesn't succeed in the fight against insurgency. The general also questioned Boko Haram's source of funding. While poking international conspiracy, he questioned how the terrorist organization has stayed operational for 15 years despite ongoing efforts by the Nigerian government to clean them out. He also disputed and further dismissed allegations by human rights agencies while questioning why they were always at their loudest anytime it seemed like the Nigerian military were making significant progress in eliminating Boko Haram. Now, these are the pointers I understood from that interview that he did with Al Jazeera. And guess what? He was trying to be economical with his talk, but he didn't fail to give out his points. Okay, he's of the opinion that there are conspiracies against Nigeria to ensure that the insurgency continues. He questioned a lot of things via the interview. So perhaps it might be one of the reasons why he was denied visa. Because let's get this thing straight. No other Nigerian politician have come out to claim that Canada denied them visa. So perhaps he's the first person who is coming out openly to say that the Canadian government denied him visa with other generals that he was supposed to travel with. So now, what do you think?